Welcome to the Blue Shack. My name's Joe, and today I'm going to be working on another project. Let's get started. And today I'm going to be continuing where we left off with making a ring mandrel after leaving off with the last episode of starting on the blank there and also the bolt. I decided to go ahead and make a full set of mandrels, every full ring size, starting with size 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. The reason for that is I already have a few ring mandrels, and what I've found is that it works really well for keeping a ring true if it's the right size for the mandrel. If I need to expand this to fit a couple of ring sizes up, it does work, but it isn't necessarily any longer concentric because the hinge point on the aluminum may flex differently on per side, so it kind of throws it out of true. So I want a set of mandrels that will be true, and the ring size, the steps between ring sizes is less than 1 millimeter. So I reckon that if I make a mandrel for each ring size, it'll stay true from, if I make this I'll make this ring for ring size 4, and it should be good for 4, 4 1/4, 4 1/2, all the way up to 4 3/4, and then I'll make my next mandrel size 5. What I kind of do, and I haven't really used it yet, is I usually make the outside for 1 ring size, and then I step it up 3 ring sizes larger, and then the outside is 3 ring sizes larger yet. I never really have used those extra steps, but I like having them there just in case I need them in the future. I need at least 1 millimeter of ring hanging out over the edge so I can get some sandpaper in there, finish that edge off, maybe even a file, so the further the ring sticks out, hangs off the mandrel, the more I have to work with. All right, so we're going to get started mounting this on. I already have the Morse taper mounted, and I believe I said before I use the same Morse taper for all my mandrels every single time. The Morse taper itself fits in the lathe exactly the same. The outside part where the threads are, due to manufacturing, could be off ever so slightly per mandrel or a Morse taper to Morse taper. So I always use the same Morse taper, and I tighten that up good. And I'm going to turn the lathe on. We'll see how concentric it looks. It's got a little bit of wobble to it at the outside edge. It's a little more pronounced out there, but we're going to be taking that off anyway. Now, the camera doesn't show it, and I could barely see it, but I see that it's a little bit off centricity right where it butts up to the Morse taper. And that's because of the manufacturing differences, and that's why it's important to use the same one every time for your mandrels. The first thing I'm going to do is face this off, get a nice smooth surface on that face. Turn this on, and just touch it off there and zero out the DRO. power feed. I'm going to start a hole with a center drill. That way I can put a live center on it and keep it all in place. About 2/3 of the way up that center drill. Okay, make sure that's loose. I'm going to remove the drill chuck and put in the live center. Oil that up a bit. And make sure the quill is nice and clean. So I'll just have to move the quill out further to give myself plenty of space. All right. Snug that up and lock it off. All right. The next step is to make this, remove some material. Make sure it's concentric to start with. I want to remove material. I'll leave myself 20 millimeters, roughly, of knurling. So I'm going to measure that out, 20 millimeters. Give it a little mark. And oh, should hold that handy because I'm going to turn this on and finish marking it all the way around. That ought to do it. Now I'm going to be making a this for ring size 5. And step it up 3 so it'll be 5 on the outside, then 8, then 11. Size 11 is 20.6 millimeters. So I'm going to see where I'm starting off here. We're at 25 millimeters. And again, I want to be at 20.6. Now for the last step, I could be a little more because I want to actually have a stop on that last one. And you'll see what I mean here shortly. But what I'm going to do is start by removing material down to that stripe I made and make sure I don't go below 20.6. All right, start by touching this off. There it goes, around my cross beam. Bring this on over. I'm going to take 20 thou and engage take the line and then I'll take it off power once it removes all of that line right there. I'll line this line back. Give it a measure. And we're at 24.8. So I'm going to go ahead and take one more pass of 20 thou. And this time I'm going to power feed it down, reverse it, power feed back out to give it a nice smooth surface. Now, because it's on a Morse taper, normally, unless I have a live center in it, I would never power back out or even cut going backwards, because aluminum's soft, so it probably wouldn't be an issue, but there's a potential that it could pull that Morse taper out. So I try to always just power it in. But in this case, I've got a live center on there, so there shouldn't be any issue at all. And we'll measure on that. 23.7, and that's going to be good enough. If I need to take a little more, I can later. For the time being, I'm going to leave it as is and go on to the next step. I'm going to carve out a section that's thinner that allows it's going to act as a hinge, and I want it to be pretty thin. If it's too thick, it takes a lot of pressure to push out these I don't know what you want to call them individual parts of the mandrel. And the thicker it is, the harder it is to pull out, the more likely it is to warp somewhere along the line. So I want that to be fairly thin. This is a smaller size. It's going to be a size 5, and so for size 5, for most of my mandrels, I use an M8 by 1.25. In this case, I'm going to use an M6 by 0.10. So you can see that's pretty thin compared to that. So I'm going to remove quite a bit of material there. I'm going to go ahead and use, since I have this one and I know it works the way it is, I'm going to go ahead and give myself some marks. So I've got those 2 marks. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and mark them all the way around. The part that narrow spot is about 15 millimeters wide, and I want to cut it down to 14 millimeters. I'm going to use a diamond shaped carbide tool and run it straight on in. Go ahead and push that in to 20 thou. ahead and stop it for just a minute and give it a measure. And we are at 18.4. So still a ways to go yet. Okay, another 20 thou. I believe we're taking off about a millimeter per pass. But I'll find out to make sure that I'm correct in that. So we were at 18.48 and we are now at 17.49. So yes, about a millimeter per pass. Give myself a little more WD-40 here, or bunkum squint, as my brother calls it. Okay, here we go. All right, so theoretically we should be down to about 15.5, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. 15.4. So if I take it down, this time I'll take it to 15 thou off instead of 20. I'll be pretty close, I reckon. Shut that off and give it another measure. I know we're probably going to need to take like another 10 maybe. We are at 14.69. So if I take another 10, that will be close enough. It doesn't have to be 14 millimeters exactly. It can be close to it. So go one more pass, another 10. Let's see what we wound up with. 14.2, close enough. That part doesn't have to be exact. The next part I'm going to do needs to be exact. I'm using a diamond cutter, but with a rake to the left. Now comes the part where I'm going to be shaving this down to the exact ring size, actually 0.1 millimeter less than the ring size. So this is a ring size 5, 15.7 millimeters in diameter. So I'm going to take it down to 15.6 millimeters. And I'm going to be shaving off 2.5 millimeters in. I need to find that edge, zero out my DRO. Right there. I'm gonna give it a quick measure. Size 5, 15.6 is what I need. And we're at 18.3. I'm good for at least another 20 thou. Okay, now that we're starting to get closer, I'm going to start removing the burr so I get an accurate measurement. Needle file here. Remove the burr so we get white. $17.3. I can safely take off another 20 thou, but that's going to be getting close. This time I'm going to also wipe my caliper and make sure there's no metal flakes on there. $16.25. It's time consuming, but worth it in the end. So that's 15.85. So we are getting very, very close. 15.86, only 0.2 more. If I'm about 0.1, 0.2 millimeters under, it's still okay. Okay, so 15.77. So I only need another 0.2. Should be pretty darn close. And we're at 15.63. Size 5, 15.7, and I want it slightly smaller than that. I'm good right where I am. All right, so the next step is going to be 3 sizes larger than size 5. So that's size 8, which is 18.1. So an even 18 will be right. So the next step, I'm going to go another 2.5 millimeters, and I want to take it down to 18 millimeter diameter. Zero this out again. $17.99. I'd say that's pretty darn close. Okay. The next step up is ring size 11, which is 20.6, so I need 20.5 millimeters. And we're starting at 23. .56, and I think it was 20.6, so we're under that ever so slightly, so that is perfect. That'll work for size 11. Not that I'm ever going to use it anyway. Okay, so that's our basic shape for the mandrel. It is very, very time consuming, but I enjoy working with a lathe, and it comes out nice in the end and very useful for me. So I'm gonna just get rid of some burrs here, round those over a little bit, make them a little smoother. Sometimes I've gone back and like sanded and made it really pretty, but I'm not going to bother with that. All right, that's step 2 completed. It's getting kind of late, so I'm going to call it quits for the day, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a good evening.